Hello and welcome to English for You. I'm Seb.
And I'm Elsie.
And today we're talking about dance. Okay, so Elsie, are you a good dancer?
No, I'm not. I don't think I am.
Okay.
But I'm planning to learn Zumba dance.
Oh, really?
Right.
Okay, that's a kind of dance which has exercise in it as well.
Right. Wait, you look like a great dancer. Are you?
Not really. I have two left feet. When someone has two left feet, that means they can't dance at all because obviously, if both your feet were your 左脚, then it would be quite hard to move well, right? It would be quite awkward. So I have two left feet, but I have been trying to improve recently. I've been learning a little bit of salsa.
Ooh.
Yeah, you know, salsa 跳舞. That's
yes,
right?
I like that kind of dance.
Yes, it's a dance from Latin America. And it's quite easy to learn the basic steps, and it's a lot of fun to do with someone else. Do you do any other dances, or are there any other dances you want to learn?
Apart from Zumba, maybe tango?
Ooh, passionate.
Oh, and waltz.
Oh, very romantic.
Actually, there are so many kinds, right? And we're going to learn about tap dance today.
We are. An amazing dance, which is very, very special. So let's get started.
Reading.
Tapping through history. The origin of modern tap dance is disputed among experts. However, there is an agreement that the art is a mix of styles from different cultures. Tap dancers strike the ground with their feet in a rhythmic way. Dancers wear special shoes, and the sound that is produced is perhaps the most famous feature of tap. Dancers need not move their upper body too much. Instead, the focus is on footwork and some level of improvisation. Some historians believe that modern tap can be traced back to the African slaves who were brought to the U.S. in the 18th century. Combining styles from African, Irish, and British cultures, the slaves used tap as a form of rebellion. Tap has since developed into many styles. Broadway tap dancing, for instance, uses high-heeled shoes to the beat of show tunes. Beginners often cut their teeth on this style. Another branch of tap is Irish step dancing. Dancer Michael Flatley is credited with making Irish step popular. He brought the art to a global audience through successful tours such as Riverdance and Lord of the Dance. Check out videos of famous tap dancers online and enjoy their wonderful talent.
Okay, so today the article begins by saying the origin of modern tap dance is disputed among experts. So modern tap dance is our main topic for today, but its origin is disputed.
Right, we're starting with a problem, and that problem is to do with its origin. Now, origin is a good word to start with. When we talk about the origin of something, we mean the place or time that that thing comes from. If you look closely, origin looks a lot like the word original, which we know describes something that hasn't come before. So similarly, the origin of something is the first example of it existing. We can use origin to talk about things and people. So, for example, many Taiwanese people have their origins in southeastern China. That's because they lived in that place before they came to Taiwan, many hundreds of years ago. Here's another example. It's believed by some that the origins of Taiwanese bubble milk tea, that's 珍珠奶茶, are in Taichung, where the first tea shop was opened in 1983.
Origin 这个字呢是名词，代表起源、源头。The origin of something 代表就是某事物的起源。那刚刚 Seb 有提到的 original 这个形容词啊，它有很多个意思，可以当作起初的、原先的，或者是原作的、真迹的，像是 an original painting。再来还有独创的、新颖的 an original idea。Okay, so here we are talking about the origin of modern tap dance, 现代踢踏舞的起源。
So where is this dance from? Well, it's difficult to say, and that's because the origin of tap dance is disputed. Now, dispute is a verb, and when we dispute something, we argue that that thing is not true. For example, Elsie says she is the fastest runner in the office. I dispute that idea. I think I am much faster than Elsie. Here I'm using dispute to say, I don't believe that. I don't agree with it. Interestingly, dispute can also be used as a noun. When we talk about a dispute, we mean a disagreement, often a formal disagreement that is quite important. So countries can have border disputes or territory disputes, for example. That's when two countries both believe they should have control over a place. Japan and China have a territory dispute. They both believe that some islands in the sea north of Taiwan should belong to them. Now, here's an example sentence using dispute. The idea that Taiwanese bubble milk tea comes from Taichung is disputed by people who believe that it comes from Tainan's Hanlin tea room. Elsie, do you have an opinion on this dispute?
Actually, I don't.
You don't? Well, it's not a dispute for everyone.
I didn't know it might have come from Tainan's Hanlin tea room. Wow, that was a piece of important information. Okay, so dispute 这个动词呢，代表的是对某事提出异议或是辩驳。And when something's not certain, 如果某件事情是不确定的话，我们可以用一个形容词来形容哦。We say it's disputable.Disputable 这个形容词代表就是不确定的、有争议的。那文章说到呢，现代踢踏舞的起源是有争议的。
So the article goes on, it's not just the origin that has lots of that people are arguing about. The tap dance is very, very diverse. There's lots of different things happening because it says, however, there is an agreement that the art is a mix of styles from different cultures. So although people can't agree on where it came from, everybody agrees that it came from lots of different places.
那大家都同意的是呢，现代踢踏舞是混合自不同文化的舞风。And then the article tells us by saying, tap dancers strike the ground with their feet in a rhythmic way. Strike the ground 代表是踢地面，但不是乱踢的哦。It's in a rhythmic way. 这个形容词呢，代表的是有节奏的。那它是源自于 rhythm 节奏。韵律的意思。
Right. And when we strike something, normally we mean that we're hitting it. But sometimes when we do something very suddenly, we can also call that a strike. So if anybody knows the very famous Madonna song, Vogue, then they might know that you can strike a pose. You're not hitting anyone, you're just making a pose very, very quickly. Okay, but that is not the only special thing about tap dance. We learned that dancers wear special shoes, and the sound that is produced is perhaps the most famous feature of tap. And that's because tap is actually an onomatopoeia, a sound word. It's actually the sound of the shoe hitting the ground. That is a tap.
好，所以 tap 在这边是模仿那个踢踏舞鞋发出来的声音。那文章这边说到呢，舞者穿特殊的鞋子，那跳舞的时候呢，所发出的声音是踢踏舞有名的特色。And then the article continues, dancers need not move their upper body too much.
It looks like we have a typo here until you realize that this is actually our grammar point for today. Dancers need not move their body much. So we use need not to talk about things that you do not need to do, especially when giving instructions. Need not is a variation of the structure you don't need need to do something. However, it's a little bit more formal than that, and therefore very good for formal writing and official notices, like, say, the government might write. Let's take a look at how we can construct it using the simpler structure. You do not need to stay up late to study for the test. Phew, I'm glad I don't have to stay up late. That's something that I absolutely hate. If we want to make the new grammar out of this sentence, though, all we need to do is swap the order of need and not, and change the infinitive to stay to the imperative form, that's the telling people what to do form, stay. We now have, you need not stay up late to study for the test. And that's not all there is to it. Well, that's almost what there is to it. What if by the time you say this, the other person has already stayed up late to study for the test, and now they're really tired, but that wasn't something that they needed to do? How do we tell them that they didn't need to do that? Well, we use the past tense. All you need to do is change need not to needn't, and use the present perfect form of the verb. Let's look at the sentence again. You needn't have stayed up late to study for the test. There you go. You can now tell people they don't need to do certain things, or that they've wasted their time doing something they didn't have to do.
OK, 所以今天的英文练功房呢，我们要讲到的是 need not 的用法。那当我们要表示某人不需要做某事的时候啊，我们会想到用 somebody，然后后面加 don't 或是 doesn't， 再加一个 need， 再加 to 以及一个原形动词。那其实呢，我们还可以用 somebody 后面加上 need not， 或者是缩写变成 needn't， 再加一个原形动词。因为呢 need 不仅可以当动词，也可以做情态助动词使用哦。那 need 当助动词的时候，就不需要依主词做变化，也没有过去式，也因为它是个助动词，所以后面呢需要接的是原形动词。好，那这样的句型呢，可以用在否定句。我们可以用主词加上 need not 或者是 needn't 这个缩写的字，再加上一个原形动词。For example, dancers need not move their upper body too much. 这个是我们课文里面的句子，舞者们不需太移动他们的上半身。那也可以说成Dancers don't need to move their upper body too much. 再来呢，这样的句型也可以用在疑问句哦，用 need 开头加主词之后再加一个原形动词。For example, need dancers move their upper body? 他们需要去移动他们的上半身吗？那这句当然也可以把它问成 Do dancers need to move their upper body? 那另外呢 need 做助动词的时候啊，虽然没有过去的时态，但是可以用 need not 或者是 needn't 再加上 have 以及一个过去分词来表示呢，虽然某人过去做了某事，但那一件事情是不必要的。For example, I needn't have called her last night. She didn't even want to talk to me. 我昨天晚上根本不必要打给她，她根本不想要跟我说话。Okay, so let's get back to the article. The article says, instead, the focus is on footwork and some level of improvisation. 那 footwork 这里呢指的是一个名词，代表舞蹈中的步伐或是脚步动作。那除了步伐或脚步动作是关键之外， improvisation 即兴演出、即兴创作也是很重要的。
Yes, it's a very good skill to have. So let's get back to the article now and see where tap dance might have come from. Some historians believe that modern tap can be traced back to the African slaves who were brought to the US in the 18th century. Now, we've got this word historians here, and the historians are very important to this sentence. Historian is a noun, and it's someone who studies and writes about history as their job. Historians have been around for a very long time, and it's thanks to the work of early historians that we know things about the past. So Sima Tian, for example, was a very important historian from China's Han Dynasty. That's Han Qiao. So he wrote down lots of important stories about ancient China, and people still use his work today to understand what life was like back then. So historians do very important work. Let's look at an example sentence of historian now. The historian wrote a long book on 5,000 years of Chinese history. It's a lot of people who have done that.
Right. 那 historian 这个字呢，就是历史学家啦。那历史学家跟 history 历史当然有关系。再来我们还看到一个字啊，是 trace. What does it mean?
Right, trace has lots of meanings. This verb is used for lots of things, but the most basic usage we use is to create a copy of a drawing by putting some paper over it and following the lines of the drawing with a pencil. It's kind of like 描图. But that's not actually the trace we're using in the article. It is similar, though. When we trace something back to a time or place, we find the origin or the starting point of that thing. So you can see this is very important to what we're talking about in the article. Remember how we talked about some Taiwanese people's origins being in southeastern China? Well, we can also say that sentence using this verb. Some Taiwanese people trace their history back to southeastern China. Of course, that's not true for all Taiwanese people. Now, we can use trace in this way because as a noun, it means a mark or sign that a thing leaves behind. That's why we can also trace animals in the wild by following their footsteps. If you disappear without a trace, though, that means that you disappear completely and no one can find where you went. Okay, let's look at an example sentence for trace now. The Olympic Games, that's Aoyun, can be traced back to the sports events in ancient Greece.
Trace 这个动词呢，在这边呢，它当做的是追查事情的起因或是来源，或者是呢，我们可以讲成回溯的意思。那如果你看到一件事情后面接上被动 be traced back to， 那代表是这件事情可以回溯至某个时期。那像刚刚 Seb 给的例句，在说的是奥运可以被回溯至古希腊时期。那文章里面讲到的是呢，有一些历史学家相信踢踏舞可以回溯至18世纪。The African slaves were brought to the US.
Right, and that's our next important vocab word, slave. Now, slave is a noun, and it's someone who is forced to do work for no money. Slavery, that's the act of making people work for no money, has existed for thousands of years. However, one of the biggest uses of slavery was by Europeans in North America between the 16th and 19th centuries, something which was called the Atlantic slave trade. That's the 大西洋奴隶贸易. This was a time when people in Africa were captured and taken to places in modern-day Brazil, the United States, and the Caribbean, and forced to do work on plantations. That's 种植园. Now, millions and millions of slaves died because they were forced to work in brutal conditions and had no rights. Another important thing about slaves is that legally they were treated like things, not like people. So that meant their owners could do whatever they wanted. So it was a very, very bad thing. Unfortunately, there is still such a thing as slavery in the world, but luckily it is kind of slowly disappearing. So let's look at an example sentence now, which has to do with slavery in the US, and actually an article we looked at in a previous issue. Frederick Douglass was born as a slave, but later escaped to freedom and became one of the most important people in US history.
And then the article says, combining styles from African, Irish, and British cultures, the slaves used tap as a form of rebellion.
Oh, okay.
这边在说的是呢，结合来自非洲、爱尔兰还有英国等等的文化，当时的奴隶呢用踢踏舞来当做 rebellion. What does it mean? Rebellion 这个字呢是名词哦，代表叛乱、造反。那叛乱、造反者做这件事情的人，我们称他们为 rebels。R-E-B-E-L 复数加 s。那当时呢，他们会这样做的原因是要反抗奴主。
So since then, the article says tap has since developed into many styles. Okay, so it's turned into a lot of things. But what kinds of things has it turned into?
So there are so many styles, right? And one of them, the article mentions, is Broadway tap dancing, for instance, uses high-heeled shoes to the beat of show tunes. 代表呢，踢踏舞有很多形式。那像是百老汇的踢踏舞就用高跟鞋、高跟舞鞋来踢出节奏。
And it seems like this style, Broadway tap, which you've probably seen before, is one of the best known types of tap, because the article goes on to say beginners often cut their teeth on this style. Okay, that sounds a little bit dangerous, cutting your teeth on something.
Teeth?
Yeah, I don't think I want to cut my teeth on anything. But as usual, this is actually an idiom which has a different meaning, and it's actually our pocket phrase go for today. So let's take a pause and learn all about what this phrase means.
Pocket phrase go!
花妈那天在读杂志看到一篇文章她说呢，这个很成功的面包师傅she cut her teeth in a local bakery before becoming a world-renowned pastry chef. 她在呢成为国际知名的师傅之前呢，是在当地的小面包店上班。哎呦，英雄不怕出身低，坚持到底才能成功。哎呦，希望橘子跟她也学一下啦。Cut one's teeth 不是呢把牙齿打断了，英文这句的意思呢是第一步，你也可以呢是入行、创业、起家也可以是呢学习经验。想象一下草创时期呢总是特别辛苦，但就算牙齿都被打断了，也要苦撑坚持才能成功啦。所以呢 cut one's teeth 就是起家学习经验，这样联想就不难记啦。
好啦，所以刚刚的文章呢，我们说到的是初学者通常用这个踢踏舞的形式来获得初步的经验。And then the article tells us another branch of tap is Irish step dancing.Right,
a very well-known style of tap, and that's one that we know a lot about in the UK. The article goes on, dancer Michael Flatley is credited with making Irish step popular. Okay, so we don't always have to say tap dance or step dance, we can say Irish step as well.To
credit somebody with something 代表是将某事的成果归功于某人，那也可以用被动来表示，文章中就是使用被动我们说到 Michael 这位舞者呢，被说是让爱尔兰踢踏舞受欢迎的大功臣。
Okay, so he brought the art to a global audience through successful tours such as Riverdance and Lord of the Dance.Okay, so he brought it to international success. He achieved global success. That's our next and final vocab word, global. That's an adjective, and when something is global, it happens all over the world. We could also say that it is international. Global comes from the word globe, which means a big ball. You know what is a big ball?Our planet. So when we talk about something being so big it could go around our planet, we mean it is happening everywhere. So here's an example of that. YouTube's popularity is global, with people all over the world making videos and uploading them to the platform.Global
这个形容词代表就是全球的、世界性的。那我们刚刚提到的 Michael Flatley 他让全球的观众都能够欣赏到像是大河之舞和舞王等等的踢踏舞表演。And the article finishes by saying, check out videos of famous tap dancers online and enjoy their wonderful talent. But before you do that, let's go to our For You chat
first.For You chat.
Okay, so our For You chat question for today is, which style of dance do you prefer? Do you like dancing that is fast-paced and exciting, or slow and romantic? Well, I think we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the episode. So I feel like I kind of know what your answer might be, Elsie.
You still remember?
It was Zumba, wasn't
it?
Right. Zumba is very energetic, isn't it?
Yeah, like I said, I like Zumba a lot. I like it not only because it's fast-paced and exciting, but also because I can sweat and lose my body fat while doing it.
You can burn some calories. You can lose some weight. Right. It's a very good workout. It's a very good way of training your body. I think I like energetic and fast-paced dancing too, because it's more fun to just kind of let your body go and be quick. But at the same time, I think when a dance is very fast, you also have to learn a lot more because you have to learn to move faster to the beat. So it depends if you have rhythm. Do you have rhythm, Elsie?
I don't think I do, so I think that's more difficult, right? To have a dance that's really fast-paced and exciting.
Yeah, so we might have to go to the studio and do some training.
Okay, we'll do that together.
But you guys in the meantime can talk about what kinds of dances you like, and we will see you again soon for some more exciting articles. I think we're doing another one together this month, Elsie.
Right.
Okay, but until then, it's bye from us now. For English for You, I'm Seb.
I'm Elsie.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Tapping through history. The origin of modern tap dance is disputed among experts. However, there is an agreement that the art is a mix of styles from different cultures. Tap dancers strike the ground with their feet in a rhythmic way. Dancers wear special shoes, and the sound that is produced is perhaps the most famous feature of tap. Dancers need not move their upper body too much. Instead, the focus is on footwork and some level of improvisation. Some historians believe that modern tap can be traced back to the African slaves who were brought to the U.S. in the 18th century. Combining styles from African, Irish, and British cultures, the slaves used tap as a form of rebellion. Tap has since developed into many styles. Broadway tap dancing, for instance, uses high-heeled shoes to the beat of show tunes. Beginners often cut their teeth on this style. Another branch of tap is Irish step dancing. Dancer Michael Flatley is credited with making Irish step popular. He brought the art to a global audience through successful tours such as Riverdance and Lord of the Dance. Check out videos of famous tap dancers online and enjoy their wonderful talent.
Vocabulary Review.
Origin. Some words in the English language have their origins in Shakespeare's plays. Dispute. People often think that we only use 10% of our brains, but scientists dispute this claim. Historian. As a historian of ancient Egyptian cultures, Dr. Harris often goes to Egypt to learn about its past. Trace. My mother traced our family history to Scotland, where my great-grandparents worked as farmers. Slave. Hattie was forced to be a slave on a farm, where she worked hard without pay or rest. Global. The global company had offices and stores in several countries around the world.
智慧小补帖
Rhythmic. Footwork. Improvisation. Improvisation. Rebellion.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net